Hello my darlings, it's Miss Darling in the studio and I welcome you, and today I'm going to talk a bit about making more dangles for your junk journals or some of the tassels that go on the outside, and show you some of the things that I'm doing and then turn you loose to your own creativity. And so I have a video already where I showed you how I was making these little fun dangles, and I've used them many times on some of my belly bands. Here's Asian one, got an Asian geisha on one side and a bird on the other. Here we got, a floral on one side and just a plain design on the other. And so these were fun, but I already have a video on how to make these, so I'll try to link it in the description box. And we won't be dealing with that today. I want to show you some other things I'm working on. Let's talk about tools that you're going to need if you get interested in doing any of this. So here's a little container. I don't know how I wound up with it, but it was a little plastic container. It had some advertising on it I didn't like, so I junk journaled it. And here on the inside are a bunch of very simple little dangles that I've made out of, I think they're called light bulb hooks. Anyway, they're shaped like a light bulb, and then I've just added various types of beads and hung them on there, and so you can see those. And then I also have a bunch of these little gold tone metal pieces. That this one says Miracle. This one says Dream, Brave. I just added some extra little beads with them. This one says Protected, and so that's something that you can do. And then these are, excuse my hand, but I think I wrenched my wrist. So I've got my protection on there. So here is a bunch of little beads, and I had a bunch of little tiny keys, so I added those. And then I have a bunch of little metal gears. I think I got these maybe from Tim Holtz, I don't know, but here's another little gear type one. And I added some beads, just something real simple. Here's one with little different kind of hardware stuff along with some beads. And see, isn't that cute? I just love those. This one I made, this is a handmade bead made out of paper, and then I added some other little beads top and below and hung it on a light bulb hanger, and I just thought that was really cool and very Asian looking. And I'll show you how to make those if you ask me. I get enough people asking for any kind of particular thing, I'll try to do a video on it. So I wanted to show you those. And then here's a box that I covered, and I've got something different in here. These are all pieces that I took from some really ultra heavy earrings I've had for many years. They were so heavy I couldn't wear them, and they were just sitting in my box, and so the other day I took them apart and have them ready to put onto a junk journal. And some of them are long, some of them are short. But you can see, you know, it doesn't take very much of this kind of metal to really weigh you down, and they were just too painful to wear. So now I'm repurposing old jewelry that I have that I've never worn or haven't worn in ages, taking things apart and turning them into great little dangles. So now you ask, well, okay, that's great, I'd like to do some of that, but how do you go about doing it? Well, first you got to start with some tools that are made for working with jewelry. And you don't need a whole lot. I think essentially if you have these 4 basic tools, you'll be fine. And so the first 2 are, like, this is like a needle nose plier. I think you can even cut wire there, but I'm not sure. And then this is another similar one. And I use these 2 together when I'm working, say, with a jump ring that I want to open up. And so I'll hold one side with one tool and the other side with the other tool, and then I can bend them open and take them off of something or add something to them. So these are vital. This is a cutting tool. So if you're working with wire and if you're going to be stringing beads for a junk journal, you'll probably want to work with wire. Of course, you can work with thread, or, you know, elastic thread or regular thread or even embroidery thread. But if you're going to work with wire, you need something to cut it with. And I think that, you know, the wire is sized by the gauge. And the higher the number, interesting enough, the higher the gauge number, the thinner the wire is. So around 24 gauge, 28 gauge wire is sufficient for working with jewelry. And so 24 to 28 gauge wire is rather the perfect size, I think. It's pliable, but not so pliable that your jewelry is just going to fall apart with the least bit of strain on it. So you need something to cut the wire. A tool like this, not really sure what it's called, but you can see that it's rounded, so it might be like a round, I don't know, bull nose pliers. And you use this when you want to curl the wire and you want to, say, make a jump ring, or you want to take a jump ring and it's been opened and you want to close it back up and you want to keep it circular. You'll need one of these. Now I'll just show you quickly. This is a string of glass beads that I made yesterday. Maybe that's how I wrenched my hand. But anyway, I was taking these glass beads and I was putting wire through and making loops on each end and then hooking the loops together with the glass beads between. And so I was spending an hour or 2 doing this and using almost exclusively this tool here. And what I was doing is I bought this vintage little pill box so I can keep my medication in there, so I always have it with me whenever I need to take something. And so I wanted to have something I could wear and that was decorative and not too weighty. And I didn't have a chain that was going to work on it, and so I made one. Anyway, that's what this tool is. Now you'll also need to invest in some small beads in different colors, different sizes, and of course the smaller the bead, the smaller the hole, and so that can become a problem if you're trying to string with something that's too thick. Of course you can't use the really small beads, but let me pull this out and kind of show you. For instance, here's my little case that has all of my light bulb clips in it. And then I have this container here that's full of beads that I like, that where the holes are big enough to go in the wire of the bullnose. And you'll notice that there are some seed beads in here, and some seed beads you can work with, and others might be just way too small and you have to work with thread of some kind. And so, you know, you'll have to kind of experiment, look at beads and the various sizes, but pay particular attention not just to the bead or the color, but the size of the hole, so that you have what you need. I also have in here a little case full of jump rings. And jump rings are the connecting circular little pieces of wire that are, you know, cut, and so you can open them up. There are some rings that you cannot open, and so they're just a sphere like this large one. That's not the kind of thing you can open up, but jump rings are for that purpose. And you see I have a few. Oh, I have something in here I didn't know I had, and maybe I can use. So you'll need to have a supply of this, and if you're going to do a lot of it, I advise you to invest in some supplies. There's nothing worse than wanting to work on something and not having what you need in-house, and then you got to go out and buy it or order it, and it's just a pain in the neck. So I have containers full of lots of different things, and when I was actually making jewelry several years ago, of course I have containers with much bigger stones, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with them now because I'm out of the jewelry making business, except for making my dangles, but oh well, you know, so it goes. Anyway, you can buy containers just with seed beads alone. I picked these up at Walmart, and of course this has many different colors in it, and then this is really just your neutrals here. And one of the cases was broken, and so I have to return it. It had more cool colors in it, so I'll try to get the third one. But you know, they're not very expensive, and you know, it just helps so much having things on hand that you can choose from and having it readily available to you. So that's a way to go too. You can buy things in the case, or you can buy your beads individually. It's up to you and what you envision making. So lastly, I just wanted to show you what I'm working on right now. I had this necklace I've had for years, and it's full of chains, and a little too heavyweight for me to want to wear at this point in my life, and it's just sitting in my jewelry box doing nothing. So I decided to take my little pliers here and take the chains off one at a time, and I've already done one, and you can see what it looks like. There's a jump ring on each side of it, each end, I mean, and so I'm going to get lots of little chains. They will be in different lengths, some longer than others, and you can see there's many different sizes and style of chains just on this one necklace. So if you've got jewelry like I do that you've had for many years, you haven't worn it, it's dated now, or you just don't like it anymore, hey, repurpose it and find a new life for it. Here is a pair of earrings that I remember when I bought them, I just loved them. And then, as I usually do, I get tired of things very quickly. And so they're just sitting around doing nothing. And I took the ear hoop off, and I have some earrings that I still like that is missing something, so now I've got something to repair that with. But I'm going to use these on tassels. They're too long to be just page dangles, but they would be perfect to put on a tassel on the spine. Same with this. This came off of a necklace, and these two things here, this was a pair of earrings, just some kind of bronze looking chains on it. I don't think I ever even wore them. I imagine I bought it at some time, but I never even wore them. So those are being repurposed. Here are bits and pieces of a bracelet that I had that broke. It was strung together with elastic thread or cording, whatever you call it, and it, as elastic does, it does tend to break on you, and I wasn't going to try to restring it. And so I thought, well, each one of these, it has some text on it, like this says dream big and tranquil on it, and then this one says believe, enchant, imagine on it. I can't break them away because they're soldered together, but I thought I could probably figure out a way to use those on some journals and maybe attach to the tassel. They're too big and bulky to put on a page or even off of a page, but they certainly could be utilized on the tassel that goes on the spine. And then this is just some random jewelry that I've been looking at for various purposes. But I just want you to know that you can do all this quite easily, and you don't have to take a course in making jewelry or anything else. You can, of course, watch other videos on things, but these are the essential tools that you should think about getting. And yeah, repurpose your jewelry. I mean, why just let it sit in your jewelry box going nowhere and doing nothing, and when you can really jazz up a journal very nicely. So, okay, I guess that's it for this time, and hope you enjoyed this and learned something from it. Be sure and like the video, give me a comment, share it, and if you're not a subscriber, you better become one. So, with that said, this is Miss Darling calling this a wrap. Bye-bye.